topic was unemployment. So today we're basically covering the three types of unemployment: structural, frictional, and cyclical unemployment. Alright, so we'll basically go over that and then just some more basic facts about unemployment and just how it functions in the economy.
Then we'll show you some diagrams.
I'm structurally unemployed. This occurs in the economy when there's technological advancements, and it's kind of seen as it's bad for obviously the people that are being unemployed, but it's kind of seen as good in the long run as it signifies growth and technological progress. An example of this would be someone like a VCR repairman or a DVD player repairman, as those services are no longer required in the economy since there's things like Netflix and online streaming is no longer necessary. So people like that would find themselves unemployed due to that scenario.
Hi, I'm frictionally unemployed. I'm not homeless yet, but I just graduated from college and now I'm looking for a job. For people like me, frictional unemployment is pretty much inevitable. It's kind of when you're in between and you don't really have a secure job yet.
Hi, my name's Mel, and I'm cyclically unemployed. I've been now for 3 months, thanks to the recession. Do you know what cyclical unemployment is? I kind of don't. But what I've heard is that there's this thing called the business cycle, and that point where it's called a recession, where there's no full employment, that's where I come in. Because cyclical unemployment is demand-deficient unemployment, which means that not enough firms are demanding labor so that I can't get a job. The armed force. This is the labor force.
So over here we have the labor force. Basically what is included in the labor force, we have people actively looking for jobs that are over the age of 16. People that are not included in the labor force are retired workers, discouraged workers, people ineligible to get a job, and things like that.
People who are unemployed, cyclically, not these two, get unemployment benefits, which is compensation, which is paid for by the government to try to stabilize the economy in case of a recession, so that we don't go into a recessionary spiral in the way that it would if social programs, unemployment compensation, or progressive tax systems did not exist.
There may seem like there are a lot of job opportunities out there, but for people like me, you don't really want to work at a place like McDonald's or Burger King or one of those other jobs where people usually go to start out, because I have a degree and that would be underemployment.
The unemployment rate is the number of unemployed, in this case 3, over the labor force, which I'm guessing there's maybe, what's an easy number to go into 3? 30 people. So 3 over 30 is 10%. 10% unemployment, that's bad. And these two make up 3.3% each of the unemployment rate, but since they're the natural rate of unemployment, that is 6.6. So the NRU in this case is 6.6%. A big thank you to our camera woman, Jill. We didn't pay her, she's unemployed. The ADAS model shows the aggregate supply and demand along with long-run aggregate supply, which is the same as potential output for an economy, and their effects on the price level and real gross domestic product. The point where all three intersect is known as long-run equilibrium and represents full employment along with allocative efficiency. During a recession, the aggregate demand falls short of long-run aggregate supply and creates unemployment and a lower price level. Expansionary policy aims to shift AD back to long-run equilibrium and restore full employment once again. The Phillips curve is a diagram that shows the trade-off between unemployment and inflation. The long-run Phillips curve represents the natural rate of unemployment or full employment, which is the combined percentage of structural and frictional unemployment. These two are considered to be natural because they are virtually unavoidable and are not directly related to a deficiency in the demand for labor. In the case of an expansionary policy, the short-run Phillips curve shifts to the right, which decreases unemployment but increases inflation. This is evident by moving from point A to point B, which represents a period of time when more output is demanded and more workers are needed.
The labor market shows supply, which represents those looking for work, and demand of labor, which represents the jobs that are available. Real wages on the y-axis showing the price of labor as a result of supply and demand interaction, while the x-axis shows the quantity of labor. In the case of an expansionary policy, the demand for labor shifts to the right due to the creation of jobs. The consequent effects are an increase of both wages and quantity of labor.
The business cycle represents the inevitable fluctuations in a macroeconomy over time. With the growth trend of full employment due to an economic innovation, the business cycle follows a pattern of 1. Recession, a gradually decreasing output due to the high levels of cyclical unemployment and productive inefficiency. 2. Depression, the end result of a recession which is the bottom of the cycle and is categorized by the actual output that does not nearly meet the potential output. Recovery, expansion. These are when an economy gradually increases output due to either policies or self-correction and slowly makes its way to full employment and allocative efficiency. And number 4, peak. This is an economy that is overheating and producing at a higher level than it can sustain, so actual output is greater than potential output. The cycle then repeats itself, but it is unknown exactly how long each stage will last.
When an economy is experiencing high levels of cyclical unemployment, or is in a recession, Congress may issue fiscal policies which act as economic stimuli. One way fiscal policy aims to increase employment is by lowering taxes, and this means that working individuals will have a higher disposable income and are thus likely to spend more. This spending most likely would lead to a higher demand for goods, which increases productivity, so firms are most likely going to demand and employ more workers. And another course of action for fiscal policy is through increased government spending. So whether it be injections into infrastructure, education, or public transportation, these projects will increase the demand for labor and create jobs for those who are currently unemployed. Fiscal policy, however, may have adverse effects such as deficit spending, policy lags, and crowding out, which occurs when the government borrows money from the Federal Reserve to fund their injections, but the interest rates will consequently increase and could possibly discourage consumers from borrowing and spending, which would hinder productivity and employment once again.
Another way to restore long-run equilibrium in the case of a recession is to use monetary policies, which are controlled by the central bank, the Federal Reserve, and the U.S. There are 3 monetary policies to lower unemployment. The first one, lower the reserve ratio, the amount banks are required to keep in reserves, which allows for more money to be loaned out and put into circulation. 2, lower the discount rate, the interest rate for banks to borrow money from the central bank, which means banks are likely to borrow more and therefore loan more to the general public and stimulate consumption and productivity. Or, number 3, open market operations to alter the money supply. In this case, the Federal Reserve would buy bonds, aka securities, from the government in exchange for money, which is then put into circulation.
The production possibilities curve for an economy shows the potential output of an economy based on the available factors of production. During high levels of unemployment, labor, one of the four factors of production, is not being used efficiently and is therefore to the left of the PPC. The ultimate goal of expansionary policy is to take an economy out of a recession and increase its productivity, which is represented by moving from point A to point B.